Hello, everyone. I'm Ben Stemrick, and welcome to the follow-up question where we break down what's happening at the Allentown City Council meetings, and we ask the questions that need to be asked to the people making the decisions. On Wednesday night, Council held a special meeting, giving the public a chance to come out and weigh in on what the city should do with the $57+ million that came from the American Rescue Plan. Now, on Tuesday, Council Member Ce-CE Gerlach put a message out on Facebook encouraging anyone who could come to the meeting to come and voice what they think the money should be put towards. Affordable housing was mentioned the most. A youth center was a popular topic, as well as policing, including adding 10 more officers. Now, we caught up with Council Member Gerlach after the meeting and asked her how it went. Take a look. Okay, thank you, Ce-CE, for giving me some time. I greatly appreciate it. Tonight, we had a special council meeting where we talked about the American Rescue Plan money. I guess it feels like this has been a long time coming. What kind of conversations went into that before tonight's meeting?
Yeah, when you say it's been a long time coming, it most certainly has. We were awarded this money in 2021 under the previous administration. They presented a budget. We shot the budget down. We said that we wanted to wait for the new administration to come in. The new administration came in, and there wasn't quite like a process, a procedure that that was transparent and put out there to the public. So we shot down the multiple allocations to organizations that the new administration made. So yeah, this has been a lot. Over the last like almost year of just like a lack of a process, a lack of procedures, a lack of strategy, and a lack of transparency. So pretty much I'd say over the last several months, some of us on council who normally don't get along, like we literally vote against, we are diametrically opposed on many issues, but we've been talking and we've expressed our concerns and our ideas. And on this, we agree on the need to be more strategic and more transparent with how we are allocating the ARPA dollars, and us as council, as a elected body, to have some say so in that. So there's been a lot of conversation over the last year. It's just that we are finally at a point where we as a body were able to collectively, all 7 of us, come together and say, yes, we've got to do something. We've got to have this meeting where there's public input. It's taken some time for us to come together collectively.
Where was that lack of transparency coming from?
So in the process itself, I won't necessarily like blame an individual. I will say that, you know, the federal government gave municipalities a lot of money with some guidelines, but not really. So municipalities that are already strapped and staffed, that are, you know, doing a billion different things, they had to figure out on their own how to do this. And Allentown, that didn't quite happen with any efficiency and efficacy. So I would say the lack of transparency is there is a committee that applications will eventually get to after they've been submitted to the mayor's office. We don't know how an application gets from the mayor's office to this committee. Like, what are the parameters? What are the requirements? Like, how does he decide which applications even get to that committee? There's a scoring rubric, but the scoring rubric is used by the committee. So I wonder, you know, we don't know what rubric does the mayor use to send those applications to be scored. We don't know who is on the scoring committee. Another lack of transparency is, I think like a month and a half ago, maybe 2, we as a body passed an ethics law that only relates to ARPA money, that says that if any of us elected officials, the mayor, the administration, city council, the city clerk, if any of us have conversations about ARPA dollars with an organization that could possibly or has outright said that they want money, we have to disclose that publicly. I have had conversations with Alan Jennings. I have publicly disclosed that. Cynthia Mota has had conversations with Alan Jennings. And Candida Appa has had conversations with an organization which she has publicly disclosed. To the best of my knowledge, no one else has publicly disclosed that they've had conversations, but we know that they have. So it's challenging.
And tonight they made it pretty clear, both Councilmember Moda and the mayor, that it's going to be up to council that where this money goes, correct?
Yes, it is up to city council where the money goes. And we as a body want to make that decision in a comprehensive way. What we don't want is on one Wednesday night to be presented $2 million for this organization. 2 weeks later, $5 million for this organization, this piecemealed approach. As you heard President Mota say, we don't want a piecemealed approach. We don't want to vote on an organization one at a time. We want something comprehensive that's presented like a typical budget. Like a budget is comprehensive. It has multiple items. I mean, what the process really needs to be is organizations have a month or two to get their applications in, not to the mayor, not to an elected official, but to a committee. They submit their applications to a non-elected official, a committee of administrators. And that committee, based on the recommendations that council makes, they go through all of the applications and then they submit to us a list of different allocations so we can see, like, you know what, originally I was a little hesitant about spending $1.5 million on a baseball team, but I see that 38 million is going towards homelessness. So maybe I am a little bit more comfortable with giving the Iron Pigs some money, since the majority of it is going towards homelessness. Right now, that's not the scenario. We're expected to make big decisions in little fragments without knowing the full picture.
And tonight's meeting ended with Kurt Landis from the Iron Pigs pleading their case for why they should get some of this money. It's 57, a little over $57 million. 20.5 million go to infrastructure. I think affordable housing was probably what was brought up the most tonight. There was also the youth center, and I think third was probably policing. How much of this input that was given tonight by these heads of organizations and citizens is going to be taken into consideration?
I would say all of it. And I say that with sincerity. Again, I've been talking with members of council that we don't really talk, but we're talking now. And we all wanted members of the public to come tonight. We want them to come again on June 9th. And when and if there's a third meeting, we want to hear from members of the public. And that is genuine. We will not all agree with what the final determination is, but we will have conversation and we will work collectively and we will base our decisions on, yes, people who are showing up, but as you heard Cynthia say, also considering how can we get some data, like a survey, something in the hands of people who maybe can't show up, so that we can have multiple streams of information coming at us. So we have the people who show up, we have the people who can fill a room with 30 people, cool, but we also have people who can't make a meeting because they're working at that time and they've had an opportunity to present their ideas and the wonderful things that they're doing. So again, if you look, oh my goodness, if you look at these other plans that municipalities like Buffalo and Detroit and I forget some of the other cities that were on there, Newark, the city of Newark in New Jersey, they are comprehensive, like they are detailed, like they provide stats and justifications for why they're spending the money the way that they are. And there's community input. Like these other plans literally have sections of them that state how the community was outreached to and what input they received from the community. We don't have that tonight. Almost a year has went by, and we are just now having our first official special meeting on ARPA funds, like just now. So we are behind. We are behind. But we don't need to rush and spend this money at the same time. We have till 2024 to figure out what we're going to do. I'm not saying we should take that long, but to put this like false sense of urgency on it, where we have to spend this money right now. If the Iron Pigs don't get their money to add seats to their baseball stadium, then the whole world collapses. No, that's just that's putting false fear into the atmosphere.
Before public comment, the agenda was read, and one thing that was on that was the hope for 10 new police officers. Would that come from this money? Where is that in the process?
Yeah, based on the parameters from the federal government, the money could be used to hire police officers, to hire EMS, to hire public safety individuals. The money could also be used to hire mental health professionals, people who are credible messengers to go out and prevent violence before it actually happens. The money could be used to start a crisis response team that would address mental health and public safety at the same time. But yeah, the money could be used to hire, good old-fashioned police officers.
I don't know if it was today or yesterday. It was the anniversary of the death of George Floyd. We saw, rallies and protests across the Lehigh Valley here in Allentown when that happened. There was a big movement in both directions, I think pro and anti-police during that time. Since then, I think we've signed on 3 new police officers, 10 more. What does that kind of say to Allentown and a lot of the majority that are people of color that were coming out to those rallies and standing up and fighting for some of those other things that you mentioned that this money could go to instead of officers? What does that kind of say?
Well, I mean, I have voted against every police officer that has been new hire for a police officer that has been put in front of me since I've been on city council. I believe that investments must be made again in preventing crime. Police officers show up once the body is already on the ground. It's not discounting their work. It's not saying that they're horrible people. It's saying that the structure that they operate in can only do so much. We need people who are going to be out there to prevent the crime, prevent the body from being on the ground, so that that police officer never has to show up. Police officers cannot be expected to be everywhere, every time, all the time, be social workers, be teachers, be de-escalators, be mediators. I got the data of the dispatch calls from 2019 to 2022. I believe it was February of 2022. Do you know that people will call the police when there's a dog barking excessively? Are you serious? A cop has something way more important than show up for a barking dog. Do you know that there's people that will call a police officer when someone's not shoveling their snow? There's a sidewalk that hasn't been shoveled. Are you serious? We should not be wasting our police officers' time with sidewalks that need to be shoveled, dogs that are barking too much. Like, they have way more serious things to do. They need to be out in the community, forming wonderful relationships with our community members, not showing up to a dispute over a barking dog.
Now, of that $57 million, $20.5 million is going to go towards infrastructure, $18.5 million to lost public revenue, $16 to negative economic impact, and $2 million to public health. Now, all those plans need to be made by 2024, and the money needs to be spent by 2026. Now, if you missed that meeting, there is going to be another opportunity for you or anyone else who has something to add. On Wednesday, June 9th, another special meeting is going to be held at Allentown City Hall on Hamilton Street. And that will do it for the first episode of the follow-up question. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Ben Stemrick, and we'll see you after the next meeting on Wednesday the 1st.